Night.
All right. Welcome, Florida 4-H, to the last one of the year, your last one of the 2024 to 2025 4-H year Ask 4-H About Executive Board. I am joined here tonight by three state officers that also, within their role, are part of Executive Board and have been part of Executive Board. And so I will let them introduce themselves before we hop into the questions of the evening. We'll start with Madam President.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia Massey, and I'm the State Council President.
Hi, everyone. My name is Timmy Hawes, and I am the State Council Treasurer.
Hey everyone, I'm Burke Foster, and I am the State Council Sergeant at Arms and this year's past Youth Leadership Chair.
Very nice. And so we'll start with Sophia, because I know I might say executive board, and there's some people out there that might be like, oh yeah, I know what that is. And there's some people might be sitting out there going, what is that? So I know you can probably give me like the really technical definition, but I would love to hear it in your own words of what executive board is.
Yeah, so I actually didn't know what Executive Board was until I got onto Executive Board, funny enough. And but to me, throughout my years in Executive Board, which has been 3 years now, I've really discovered that it's not only a 4-H program where youth come together and they plan summer events, but it's also where we get to learn like different life skills that we never may have learned. Sometimes it'll be leadership, or it'll just be other simple things that we do in committee meetings that we may not have known about. And then I also think that executive board is somewhere where we make memories of a lifetime. I mean, yes, we do have committee meetings and like we do have business meetings, but there's a lot of fun time that we get to just meet people across the state, get to know like what their county 4-H is like, and really just get to share those bonds. So yeah.
Absolutely. So one of the things you mentioned there was the planning piece. And so, well,
Mhm.
yes, the memories are definitely there, the connections, the friendships, and we'll definitely hit on those as we continue on. Um, but hitting on that committee piece and that like what does executive board make happen throughout the year?
Mhm.
And so, three of the big things that happen with executive board are that you have three event committees, and those support iLead, the Intermediate Leadership Conference. One supports legislature, and one supports 4-H University. That is happening in just about a week, actually, just a week. We'll have planning committee members arriving in less than a week. Um, Note the sweat on my brow as we think about all the things we have to get done up to there. So yes, so those three events, and so those youth that are part of executive board, they support making those events happen. And so, like a legislature, you'll see them, and they're the ones that are leading the committee meetings and the bill sponsor. They're writing the bills, they're leading the meetings to talk about the bills. They're the ones up there. Burke was Senate president, correct, at legislature.
Yes, I was.
Um, so yeah, so there's a lot of great opportunities within the committees to actively take a part in making those events happen. And not to knock on anybody else that brings in youth committees anywhere else, but I truly believe that executive board is a great spot to actively have that youth voice and have that youth empowerment. And I'm sure, as we'll get into tonight, all three of these guys on here can talk about like the impact that they've been able to have and those steps, those things that they've been able to get their hands into through 4-H and specifically executive board beyond just potentially picking a theme or picking a t-shirt color, which are important. We got to make those things happen. So actually, and this is not a question I prepped them with, so we'll see how great they are. But I would love to hear so we're talking about those committees, we're talking about those things that you actively get to get your hands into and make happen. So talk to me a little bit about something that you've specifically been able to make happen as a part of your experience on executive board.
Yes, sir. So, being the chair of the Ways and Means Standing Committee this past year, I've been able to experiment with some new fundraising techniques, one of which was collaborating with businesses and organizations to get some outreach outside of our regular fundraising inside of the executive board. One of the things we did is we partnered with Mayhem Ranch for their Bulls, Bronx, and Barbecue event. And it was a huge success. We were able to raise $5,000 to provide scholarships to attend 4-H legislature. And we were able to share the story of 4-H with over 3,000 participants, which was the largest stage that I've been able to speak in front of. So getting to play a major role in planning that event out and then organizing everything for our executive board members to come and volunteer at has not only helped me grow as a leader, but as a state officer, and it's helped me open doors for the next treasurer. We've already organized many initiatives and events next year and this upcoming 4-H year that the state executive board is going to have an opportunity to participate in.
Absolutely. And I want to emphasize that that was truly Timmy led. Like that was youth led making that rodeo happen. Like it was so new to me that I was like, I don't know whether this is going to work or not, Timmy. I'm going to kind of take a step back and let you figure this out. And I think we raised $5,000 as a whole with that.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, definitely taking charge and having that youth voice and youth empowerment mixed in there. Burke or Sophia, do you have anything?
I know when I was just an executive board member before becoming a state officer, I've always been on the I-Lead committee, funny enough, and one of my best memories was when they gave me the role of the t-shirt designing.
Mm.
And I just thought that was so much fun getting to have this role and being able to make a big decision about I-Lead. And then the next year, I was able to step up from that, and I was given the role of coming up with some of the games. And I thought it was fun, like as we went throughout all the games, we discovered which ones worked best with us and which would work best with the youth as well. So I thought it was a really great leadership opportunity.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think that getting to come up with those games is huge too, because then you get to, again, we're not just handing you stuff and saying, okay, here are the games to do. You're actually thinking through of like, okay, I'm pretty close to being an intermediate. What was I interested in doing? What would they be interested in making happen? And then actually getting to see it through, I think is really cool, from that planning to that actually implementation. And Burke, I'll toss this one up to you, but I know you took a big role in the bill writing and the bill editing for legislature this past year. If you want to talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, this year I was the co-chair for the bill writing and editing committee for the legislature committee, along with Helena Peterson. This was a great year because this was the most that we've had on the bill writing and editing committee in a while. So we were able to delegate very well, and just being able to select the bills that legislators at ledge were able to debate, and being able to select the ones that we thought would be very debatable, and just being able to see that come to fruition at ledge in my position as Senate president, and being able to see the bills that we approved and the bills that we edited just in action.
Absolutely. And it, again, I know probably even just within this last 5-10 minutes, it can sound like a broken record a little bit, but it wasn't just you guys saying, okay, these are the things we want to talk about, and then adults took it and said, okay, we'll do all the work. It was like, no, if you want to talk about this, here's the work, make it happen. And there's still that youth adult partnership and their background support, but it's definitely leaving you all that space to make something happen and to do something. And so we've talked about the committees a little bit. Again, with those 3 event committees. Well, I guess we've talked about them a lot at this point. So in general, Burke, tell us about what those committee meetings are like.
So when you're in a committee meeting, it really depends on what your chair is wanting to do, and it depends on what kind of committee you're in. There are 2 separate kinds of committees on executive board. We have the standing committees, which are the youth leadership, the ambassador, the Ways and Means, and the service committees. And we have our event committees, which we have talked about, Ledge, 4HU, and I-Lead. So the event committees are really well structured in that they are actually a lot like business meetings. You have your agenda, and you have your things that you have to approve that the committee wants done at the event. And t-shirts are a big part of that. And then you have your standing committees, which that's really up to your chair on how you want to do that. So you can have a business-like setting, a business meeting setting. But this year I found as youth leadership chair that there's not really a bunch of business really to be done with youth leadership. And what youth leadership does is we train youth to be leaders. We train them how to public speak, how to lead activities. So that's what we done. We led activities and we taught how to speak in public. And really this last meeting was really our best one because we really strayed away from the business setting and we really wanted to focus on just teaching and how to better themselves as leaders. And then you have the Ways and Means Committee, which can be structured very much to where it is a business meeting. I'm not really sure because I didn't have a chance to sit in on a Ways and Means Committee meeting, but I'm sure that Timmy, was it more like a business meeting, Timmy?
Yeah, it is very similar to a business meeting in the sense that we're planning things out, we're making different decisions, and of course, keeping up with making t-shirt designs to sell at our executive board meetings. But a lot of it involves brainstorming and being able to come up with new creative ideas. Of course, piggybacking off of some of our successes we found in the past, such as having state officer chair auctions. That was a huge fundraising event we were able to hold at our second executive board this year. We were able to raise a good amount of money for our executive board. But a lot of it does entail that how can we evolve this? What can we do differently to not only continue our successes, but to grow them and expand the ones we currently have? So this year we've been able to experiment a lot with different strategies, one of which was introducing iced coffee to our executive board, selling those at two of our executive board meetings, which was hugely successful. And of course, with the collaboration and then creating new merchandise, we introduced leather patch hats and leather keychains, new executive board merchandise, which also some Florida 4-H merchandise will be available at 4-H University. Some brand new stuff we got cooked up.
Absolutely. We just got a question in. So I will emphasize too, while I'm getting into this question, is that if you're watching us live on Facebook tonight, please feel free to put a question in the chat and we will catch it there and ask as we're going. We come up with these questions to kind of just keep things flowing, but this is Ask 4-H About, not just listen to 4-H ask themselves questions. And so we love to hear questions from you all throughout the night as well. And so we have one from Jody Hampton Mathis. How do you choose or get on a committee?
So during the application, when you go to apply for executive board, you will go through, you'll write why you want to be on executive board and a few other essay questions. And then I believe it's near the end, you will rank your committee choices. So you'll do your event committees and the I-Lead, legislature, or university. So you just rank which one you want first, which second or third choice. And then it's the same thing for the standing committees.
Absolutely. And we've been able to get it this past couple years to where you usually get your first or second choice, depending. And to add on a little bit to those workshops, or not workshops, those standing committees, we are trying more of a workshop model this next year based off of what Burke was just talking about with youth leadership this past year. We realized how successful that was of like using the state level opportunity to train youth across the state on different things so that they can take back into their counties. And so we're going to try that this year with our standing committee. So we're going to have more ambassador workshops throughout the year, service workshops. We're going to have the youth leadership workshops as well. So those will be some opportunities to come up and actually take those skills and learn some things that you can be like, hey, cool, I got some cool things. Let's take that back into my district or my county. And so we have no idea what that's going to look like or how that's actually going to work yet because we're trying it out this next year. So if you want to be part of something and making something new happen, this is a great time to do that as well. Hop on executive board. And so, Timmy, you dove into the Ways and Means fundraisers a little bit, but to emphasize, those fundraisers are something that happen definitely every single executive board, but then they can happen at other opportunities throughout the year as well. You mentioned the rodeo. You talked about the opportunities coming up at 4-H University. And so I'd love to hear, because you talked about it a little bit already, but like, what was one of your favorite fundraisers that you worked with on the committee this past year, or even previous years if you were on Ways and Means Committee?
Yeah, so this year we've been able to organize my favorite personal fundraiser is the Bulls, Bronx, and Barbecue Mayhem Ranch, of course. Being able to dive into the logistics, which is something I've never done before. Of course, this year I've gotten very close with Canva and making different designs to present to the committee. But diving into that outside perspective of getting in the sun and doing something with our hands to raise money outside of simply our executive board or 4-H event initiatives really was an enriching experience where our 4-H members got to go out into the world and practice those skills that they've been learning on our executive board and through their 4-H journeys. And I think it went extremely well. Everything was perfect. We got a lot of participation, and we had a lot of new donors donate raffle items to us actually at the event, which provided us quite a bit more funds that we were able to raise.
No, absolutely. No, like that was definitely a good one outside of executive boards. And if you become part of executive board, again, looking at those opportunities at those 3 executive board weekends, we typically have a pie a senior at our last executive board as a kind
Yes.
of nice little farewell, pie in the face, see you later opportunity. You talked about um, the state officer chairs. So each of the state officers gets to fill a chair with stuff that represents them. And then you get to be part of live bidding, which is always a fun one. And again, emphasizing the youth voice and youth empowerment. Sometimes we allow fundraisers to fail too. I think Burke, and this was not because of Burke. I'm not putting him on the spot like that, but I
Oh
believe it was
no.
not this year, but last year. We actually tried a fundraiser to where we tried to like you could pay to get your song to the top of the playlist
Oh geez.
at the
Wow.
dance.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was probably one of the roughest fundraisers we've done.
I
And
just want to say I had nothing to do with that.
But it's
Thank
a
you.
learning opportunity as well. So I emphasize
Yes.
that because it's like, okay, cool. Again, I'm going to give you this space, and it's pretty low stakes. If at the end of the day, if we have a bad dance, it's not the end of the world. But you learned. It's like, okay, what challenges did we face with that? If we were going to look at doing that one again, how can we adjust, or do we just need to toss that one and never do it again? Which I think we're probably more along those lines of tossing and never using it again. But again, we've learned.
Yeah.
So Burke, tell it, or Burke or Sophie, I'll toss it to either one of you guys. But tell us about some of the activities that happen around. So we talked about the Ways and Means fundraiser, we talked about the meetings, but like, what are some other things that are built into that? Because I could see somebody sitting there right now. You want me to come to a whole weekend where I just meet with people in business meetings, I learn some things, and I pay somebody else money. Like, why am I going to come to that? So tell us about some of the things that happen around that.
Yeah, so it's not totally boring. It's a lot of fun actually. And we have a nightly or afternoon activity, and that can range from being fun games. Sometimes it's like kickball, or we'll do like we have also a service project as well at every executive board, and the we decide on a service project, and then all the members will do it. I believe this year we helped clean up, I think it was maybe Camp Cloverleaf. I think we helped
Yes, it
Camp
was fun
Cloverleaf.
relief.
Yeah. And and then we did a few others as well. And then sometimes there's morning activities that some of the state officers will lead. There'll be a morning run, yoga, fishing. I know everyone loves the fishing one. And
I think it was specifically hype yoga, was it this past
oh,
year?
hype yoga. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And then, of course, we have a end of the weekend dance like we do at most 4-H events. And it's really a casual, fun, like little dance that everyone just gets to relax and unwind from all the meetings. But I think that's it. Oh, and of course, we have food. Nobody's starving. We have food.
Yeah, we're gonna feed you.
Yeah.
And it's
Um,
pretty good.
yeah, please
It's
go,
pretty
Burke.
good.
Yeah, no, it's pretty
No,
good.
the food is just pretty good.
Um, yeah, and I think usually so these do happen at our Florida 4-H camps across the state, and so we have them over the past couple of years at Florida 4-H Camp Cloverleaf and Florida 4-H Camp Timpucci. And then once Florida 4-H Camp Cherry Lake is back available for more people, so it still is open right now for people to go to. We'll actually take our officers there in the next couple of weeks for officer training. But once it's able to take upwards of like 100 people when it's fully operational again, We'll hopefully be able to go back there, or we'll definitely be going back there because that's a nice middle spot on the state. So we usually try to take that opportunity to do some of the cool activities at the camp. And so, Camp Cloverleaf, we actually have been able to hang out with their animal ambassadors. So there's actually a picture of me out there handling a snake, and it was like, ooh, I'm not a big fan, but I did it. Pushed my boundaries and comfort zone. And then Camp Tempucci, the group actually got to go seining this past year. So we actually got to go into the bay there and catch some animals and learn some things there. So great opportunity to highlight those environmental education opportunities that happen at our camps across the state, and get kids across the state those opportunities to be like, hey, this is a cool thing that I did at Tempucci that Timmy down in Broward County may have never gotten all the way up to Tempucci otherwise. So it is that cool opportunity to see all across the state as well. So some of the logistics are that a lot of people try to ask, or not try to ask, they do ask, are how much does it cost and how do people get to executive board? And so cost for every single executive board is $175, and that covers the lodging and the meals and any programming supplies for the weekend. That does not necessarily have to be paid all by you. If your county is potentially able to support you, that is an option. Not a guarantee, but always a conversation that's worth having to see if that's something that they can help make happen. And then how do you get there? So the expectation is that the families get the youth to the locations. And we absolutely know, we live in a big state. We live in a long state. So if you are up in the Northwest District and we're having it down at Camp Cloverleaf, we know that's a long drive. If we're having it up in Tempucci and you're down in the south of Florida, we know that's a long distance. But that's just one of the things that you need to be aware of when applying, is that travel is necessary. You have those dates in hand when you're applying, and so you can really look at that and be like, okay, how can I make this happen? And again, that's a conversation you can open up with your county pretty early, of like, hey, I want to apply. Is this something that I can do? Do you have any opportunities to support me in doing this? There are some counties across the state that transport, and they may take some kids from other counties as well. But again, that is not a guarantee, and that's not an expectation that we have of any of our counties. The expectation at the end of the day is that families are committing when that youth applies. When you apply, you're committing that you are going to make sure that you get to executive board in some way, shape, or form. And so, everybody, I'd love to hear from all of you all. All of you all. I don't know if the best way to phrase that, but it is where it is now. So what keeps you coming back to executive board? So not only and this is really cool for the three of you, because not only did you take a year on executive board or 2 years, you took a year and then you were like, I want to be in charge of this. Like, I want to take leadership in this. Like, I want to take that next step. So what makes you keep coming back year to year?
Yes. So the biggest thing for me was from the moment I stepped in the doors of Camp Cloverleaf, I believe was my first executive board. All the amazing connections I was able to build with like-minded and passionate youth from across the state. And then, of course, I looked up to the state officers and the impact that they were able to make. As a 4-H'er who's been involved for 12 years now, and even before then, a fun fact is when I was 4 years old, I was actually my county's birthday tracker before I was able to officially be involved in 4-H. So ever since then, I always wanted to make the biggest impact I possibly could on the program. And I figured the executive board was my portal to do so. And then I saw the impact that the state officers were able to have as such, like a day at the Capitol, all the state events, and then seeing on social media all the different places they were able to go and represent our program. I knew that that was something I wanted to get involved in, and of course provide that same enriching experience and all those amazing opportunities that I was so fortunate to have as my time.
Absolutely. What else you guys got?
I think what kept me coming back was getting to plan a event that would influence so many other youth across the state, and getting to help lead that event as well and step into a leadership role that I may have never had before unless I got onto executive board. And of course, as Timmy said, I loved making connections with people, and the people on executive board feel like family to me. And it's somewhere I can just go and I know I have that safe place and that really great connection as well.
Absolutely. Go for it, Brock.
And my reason for coming back to executive board every year, the past 2 that I've been on it,
And don't lie, you're
Um,
graduating, but you're going to see I'm still going to see you next year. I'm going to see you the year after that. We ain't getting rid of Burke.
yeah, I've already made that pretty clear at every 4-H event. In fact, at Ledge at my senior farewell, I said I'll be back. Um, um, so that might be scary to some people. But the reason that I keep coming back to executive board and will continue to keep coming back to executive board in some way, shape, or form is just the vibe. It's just something that really can't be explained. It is something. It's family. It's friends. It's just completely. There's just no way to really explain it. It's just really just a great time. It is. There's the leadership aspect, but really it's the friendship and the family that you build,
Very
and that
welcoming
goes
environment.
to everybody that's been on executive board, because once you're on executive board, you're always an executive board member, in my opinion. And just it's just knowing that you have that network of friends and family across the state.
Yeah, it's a conversation that I have at the end of every executive board, our third executive board. I make the point to some extent that like it is such a cool experience to be with 90 youth throughout the year, and you're in that space and you're like, wow, I mean, this really is a happy, welcoming space. And I mean, you hear people say that. They're like, I've been to other things like this, and I did not get as welcomed as I got here, and I did not feel it as I did here. Now, don't get me wrong, you still have your groups, you still have your friend groups and things like that. But I think the cool thing is I don't ever see anybody sitting alone unless they've specifically chosen that. Unless they've specifically said, like, no, I need my moment to recharge. I'm going to be over here by myself. But even then, somebody's usually coming over to them and be like, you good? Like, come do this thing. So if they want to come do something, they're getting invited out to do something else. And it's not necessarily something I see in every youth space that I'm in. And so I'm really proud to be a part of that with executive board and see that continue year after year. And so you might be hooked now. You might be sitting there going, yes, okay, executive board is the thing I want to do. I want to sit in those business meetings during the weekends and drive there all the way across the state. But no, also do all those fun things. So there is an application process. If you Google Florida 4-H Executive Board, our webpage will come up and there's an information packet. And that information packet has about everything that you need currently. So it has all the dates for the year, it has all the expectations, responsibilities. And then in there is a link as well that you will use to submit the application. And so applications are due not this Friday, but the Friday after that. So we extend it past 4-H University because we know there's a great opportunity with everybody attending 4-H University. They're going to be like, hey, I want to be a part of this. And so we give one more day after 4-H University to collect applications. And there are two different ways that you could potentially become an executive board member through that application. If you are already one of your district's delegates, and so we have had previously and still kind of have in some ways 13 4-H districts across the state. And so if you apply and you already know your district's delegate, you can apply and you can click that button, and then that is an automatic through to executive board because you've already been selected by either the professionals in those counties or those people. And then some counties don't have active councils or elected bodies. And so they're kind of just like, we'll just take all the applications and then we'll make sure that every district is represented by at least 4 people as best as possible across the application process. And then the other way is in the pool of 30 appointed applications. And so even if your district has 4, that's still your opportunity to get on executive board by your merit and the strengths that you have to provide to executive board. And I've been emphasizing this a lot over the past couple years. So I'll say this on this call as well, that the application process is pretty competitive. It's actually really competitive. So for 82 spots this past year, we had 140 plus applications. And so that is a lot of people we have to cut. It is probably one of my least favorite parts of my job is working through that with the incoming president and the other advisors to sit there and figure out what our executive board looks like for the next year. And so as you're doing your application, I really want you to consider consider those essay questions and really think through what your answers are to those beyond, I really love 4-H and I have a lot of leadership potential. Those are 2 great things, but I see 140 applications that say pretty similar things to that. And so that makes it really hard to start making those decisions if I just have a bunch of people that love 4-H and a lot of people with leadership opportunity or potential. And so really think about what you have to offer. And again, that can be a great conversation with your county. That can be a great conversation with your fellow, with your peers, with other people in 4-H to really think of like, sometimes that's hard to know about yourself. So you can ask somebody else, you're like, hey, what do I bring to the group? And they can be like, hey, you're the really hype person that we're going to have like you bring the energy into a space, or you're the person that keeps us organized, or you're the person that can really make things happen on Canva like nobody else can. Like there's can be some of those skill sets that you can highlight. And so really consider those types of things and have those conversations as you're looking at the executive board application. Because we have a lot of people that we have this baseline and we're trying to find those things that are going to either push you up and be like, cool, we definitely want you on. Or maybe so sometimes the application, you're like, okay, that's just not a solid application. So that kind of puts you in the cutting line. And so again, really want you to think about that as you're doing your application. Part of me doesn't want you to make it more difficult for me, but I would love for you to make it more difficult for me. Give me those different variety of things so we can put together the best executive board possible. And again, those are due August 1st. There's an online submission. You can find everything through that executive board information packet. And so we have a question on here of how do you know if you are picked? And so does anybody remember? I mean, I can give that information, but I would love to see if you guys remember like that
Yes.
moment when you realized you were picked.
So
Oh,
when I
yeah.
first applied for executive board, I was informed that I would receive an email either confirming or denying my acceptance onto the board. So ever since I clicked that submission button, I waited every single day anxiously to see the results of the application. I knew it'd be a while before they actually came in, but I just made sure to check every day just in case. And as soon as you got an email, I think it was saying congratulations on your position on the executive board. Here's your committee assignments. It was electrifying. It was the biggest accomplishment in my whole life at the time. It was essentially everything I ever wanted to accomplish and everything I ever wanted to do. So getting that email was like a weight off my shoulders.
Absolutely.
That first time that you get that email, it is completely crazy. Especially after Hurricane Idalia comes through in your area, you don't have any internet, and you're emailing Mr. Derby saying,
Did I miss my
"Am I
email?
on
Did I miss it?"
executive board?"
Yeah.
It's and then he says, "We still haven't figured it out yet." And then a week later, you get the email and see a Facebook post. You're on. Now then you run into your living room saying, "I need $175 right now."
Yeah, so it does come through email. There is, and it says whether you've gotten on, whether you have not gotten on. Also, the potential again is that email that says you didn't get on, but we usually offer up other leadership opportunities that are available throughout the year, because we don't want that to reflect to say like, no, you don't have leadership opportunity, or you don't have leadership potential, or you don't love 4-H enough, because that's not any of the decisions that we're making, and that's not why the decisions would be made. We're like, we know you're a great leader, just didn't work out this year, but here are some other things to consider throughout the next year that you could still take your leadership to that next level, if you still want to. And those usually, so applications are due August 1st. I would say at the latest, they would come out September 1st. So just prepare for that month, because we're going through officer training. We're recuperating after 4-HU and officer training, and then kind of getting going for the year. That I would definitely say September 1st, I think, at the latest to expect it. So thank you again, Jody, for that question as well. So close us out for the night. We've gone through the logistics. We've talked through the different types of things you do during the weekend. I would love to hear if there's somebody out there on the fence right now. So you have those people that are definitely going to apply no matter what. They're just watching this going, okay, cool. I just wanted to see what they were going to say tonight. I wanted to see potentially them trip up and laugh at them. No. So if there's somebody on the fence though, and they're like, oh, I don't know whether I should do it or not, what's some advice that you have for them other than just do it? Obviously, I could hear all three of you guys just say, just do it. But what are some wise words you have for those people that may be on the fence?
Right. So what I would suggest is, of course, I could just say just do it, but the personal growth that comes along with that point of self-reflection, seeing, okay, what do I bring to the table? What can I offer for the executive board? What's my motivation? Why do I want to do this? It's just simply that moment of self-reflection, being able to write that down on paper is amazing for your personal growth. And if as long as you go in with the idea that I'm going to gain something from this, whether I'm accepted or denied, win, lose, or draw, something's going to be gained from this. I'm going to be able to become a better leader, even just simply from pressing the apply button, from taking that step, getting out of your comfort zone if it's not something you think you'd want to do. Even just taking that moment, I think would be hugely, hugely impactful for your personal growth.
Absolutely.
I think my advice would be if you're still on the fence, talk to your parents, talk to your county professionals. They can give you even more details, and you can talk to anyone who's been on executive board. They will tell you how much fun it is and how you really are going to gain so many leadership skills out of it, and you're going to make bonds of a lifetime. And it's just something that it's very special, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and you have to take it.
Absolutely.
You are on the fence for executive board, joining executive board. My advice to you, talk to yourself about what you want to see yourself grow. Talk to yourself if you want to see yourself grow. And if you do, apply, because you will grow in ways that you did not even think that you needed growth on. You will grow as a leader, you will grow up, and you will make friends that will last a lifetime. That's it. Just do it.
No better words than to end on what they just said. So I don't believe I see any more in our chat box tonight. But if you have any questions, you can reach out to 4H. So unfortunately, there's not a dash in this email, while there should be a dash, but it is just 4H events at ifas.ufl.edu, and IFAS is IFAS. So I'm going to say that one more time all the way through. 4-H events at ifas.ufl.edu. You can reach out with any questions you have leading up to the application deadline next week, and we'd be happy to answer. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you, Sophia, Timmy, Burke. Excited to see you guys this coming week, along with a bunch of other people that will be joining us in Gainesville. And we'll see you next year for our kickoff Ask 4-H About. So have a great evening.